Hi everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to be reading chapter 14. This chapter is called The Old Yaga. I know the retired house and the old Yaga's stall is somewhere on the edge of the market, so I weave my way through the makeshift streets on a great circle, checking my hands every few minutes to make sure I'm not fading. Everything is quiet and peaceful, but electricity shivers through the air like the market is waiting for the living to wake up. Once I've got Baba back, we'll walk through these streets together while they're filled with living people. She'll barter for old musical instruments and tinned foods, and I'll look at clothes and secondhand books, and instead of being distracted by daydreams, I will hold her hand and appreciate every moment. Not like before. A wave of cold, damp air breaks my chain of thought. The ground is wet from where a stall must have been washed down. I stepped over a shining puddle and look up. What do you see? The voice makes me jump. I squint into the darkness, in the direction the words come from. A long, curved pipe swings out and points at the puddle. What do you see? The voice asks again, and I realize it's talking in the language of the dead. Relief washes over me. A yaga! I look at the puddle, confused. It's just a puddle. Water? I reply, unsure of myself. A face appears behind the hand holding the pipe. Dark, deeply wrinkled skin, and eyes shining with moonlight. It's the old Yaga who runs the spirit trough stall. Part of me wants to rush to her and hug her, because she is something familiar and a chance to bring Bubba home. But I just stand, frozen, my head swimming with hopes and doubts. The old Yaga chuckles, and I frown. I'm not sure why my answer to her puddle question is so funny. She takes a pull on her pipe and exhales a plume of caustic smoke. I hold my breath until the cloud disappears. It's good to see you, Marinka. Come in. She beckons me through heavy fabric curtains, past tables decorated with skulls and bottle racks filled with spirit troughs to the back of her stall where the gnarled front door of her retired house is hidden. A picture of a bottle of spirit troughs has grown over the wood, with raised images of the dead all around it. Most people would mistake them for depictions of the living, but I recognize the signs. The confusion in the faces and the blurring of their edges are visible even from the simple lines. The door opens slowly with a dawn-out creak, revealing in front room similar to ours. A fire burns brightly in the hearth, and the smell of borscht hangs in the air. Shining copper pots and pipes are piled up in the corner, though where Baba would keep her musical instruments, and there are old books and papers strewn across the floor in front of the rickety bookshelf. The old Yaga offers me a chair and ladles me out a bowl of soup. You've come because your Baba has passed through the gate. How did you know? I tilt my head and stare at her. Although she's old, much older than Baba, her hair is thick and black as the night. Just a few tiny coils of white dot her hair like stars. She stands tall and proud, and the air of confidence surrounding her makes my nerves tingle. I understand the ripples that whisper through the gates. The old Yaga sits opposite me, back straight and eyes keen. It wasn't quite her time, I think. No! I look down and poke my borscht. She had to go through the gate to help guide one of the dead to the stars. She'll be back, won't she? I hold my breath as I wait for her response. I've only ever heard of a Yaga returning through the gate once before. The old Yaga leans over to me. Have you heard the story? I shake my head, and she strides over to the bookshelf, picks up a thick leather file, and flicks through the loose pages. It's in here somewhere. I was going to put it into the next Tales of Yaga. Did you read them? Oh, yes, I nod. Memories of dawn-lit bedtime stories flooding in my mind. Bubby used to read them to me when I was little. I give a new volume to all the Yaga every 10 years or so. I'm a few years late with this one. Finding the time to press over 1,000 copies is difficult. 1,000 copies? I whisper. I had no idea there were so many Yaga. I've only ever seen fleeting glimpses of one or two here at the market. For a moment, it feels comforting to know there are so many others, and I begin to imagine what they might be like. But then, I push the thoughts away. It's pointless wondering, because I'll never know them. They all lead secret, lonely lives, just like me. The old Yaga returns to the table with a few yellowing pieces of paper. Here's the story. Can you read it? I glance at the ornately written words and shake my head. It's in the language of the dead. That's not a problem, is it? You've been doing fine this evening, much better than the last time I saw you. Heat rises into my cheeks. Bubba and the old Yaga always spoke in the language of the dead when we visited, so I never paid much attention to their conversations. Looking back, I suppose I should have tried harder to be polite. I look at the words on the paper again and start to read slowly. The baby who would not be guided. Once, in the days of taller trees and longer summers, a baby came to the gate, carried on the back of an easterly breeze. She had red hair and a cherry smile and the impatience and temper of a bee in a jar. My eyes widen as I read faster. The Yaga gave her a spoonful of goat's milk, swaddled her in a horsehair blanket, and sang lullabies to soothe her restless soul. As the baby calmed and fell asleep, the Yaga kissed her cheeks and sent her through the gate, as was custom and her responsibility. But the baby drifted back? So the Yaga fed her a spoonful of damson jelly and swaddled her in her headscarf and sang the songs of old. The baby fell asleep once more, and the Yaga kissed her cheeks and sent her through the gate. But the baby drifted back. The Yaga, fearful that the baby would fade away, as souls do when they don't return to the stars, took a deep breath to fill her lungs with courage, held the baby tight, and stepped into the gate herself. Being heavier than the dead, who float to the stars, she fell into the black ocean. She fought with her arms and legs against the icy waves until they were all twisted by the currents. Still, she held the baby tight and swam all the way to the base of the glassy mountains. She could feel the baby pulling back towards the land of the living, so she held the baby tighter and climbed the sheer cliffs and the glassy mountains, using her teeth and nails until they were all crooked with strain. Still, the baby pulled back to the land of the living. So the Yaga held her even closer and carried her farther over the great rainbow and through light years of darkness until they reached the birthplace of the stars. There, the Yaga kissed the baby goodbye and let her go to return to the stars from whence she came. Exhausted and far from the land of the living, the Yaga did not know if she would make the journey home. Each step was a battle against the natural order of the great cycle. The Yaga fought against solar winds and meteor showers, against billowing storm clouds and deep black holes. She pulled herself home along moonbeams, and by the time she reached the gate, she felt 1,000 eons old, weighed down by the blackness of the void, but satisfied that she'd filled her responsibility to the child. But as she stepped across the threshold of the living, she heard a baby cry at her back. She turned around to find the red-haired baby girl holding on tight to her shawl, smiling her cheery smile. The Yaga sighed, knowing she could not go into the gate again, as she was too tired and old now to make the journey both ways, so she gave in to the child's stubbornness and let her stay, deciding that if the baby would not be guided, she would raise her as a Yaga, because although not being born one, as most Yagas are, the child could not go back to the land of the living and would not go forward to the land of the dead. I finished the story and put the paper down with trembling fingers. This is about me, isn't it? About when Bubba tried to guide me when I was a baby. You were a stubborn little thing, the old Yaga smiles. But it worked out well, I think. Your Bubba loved you as if you were her own, and it looks like she has raised you to be a fine Yaga. It's a shame she left early. You're a little young to take over the house and the gate by yourself, but I'm sure you'll do fine. Oh, no, I say quickly. Bubba's coming back. The story proves it. She's done it before, and she'll do it again. The old Yaga says nothing, and her silence pricks at my skin. She's coming back. I try to say it more confidently, but my voice wavers. Some of the last words come from her story, echo through my mind. She was too tired and too old now to make the journey both ways. How's your house? The old Yaga asks. It's fine. I dismiss her question, a cold wave of panic rushing through my chest with the realization that Bubba might be gone forever. I bury the thought deep inside, unable to accept it. Have you guided any dead of your own yet? No, I lie. That's Bubba's duty. And your duty now, if you're the next guardian, you must start soon before your house begins to suffer. What do you mean, suffer? I frown as I remember the painful splitting sound when I sent the dead away. Yaga houses live for the dead. Guiding is their reason for being. Without it, they are lost. They wither away. I picture the crack that appeared in the house's wall by Skeleton Store, with the dry splintered wood all around it, and my stomach tightens. And it's not only your house that will suffer. The dead need to be guided. Trapped in this world, they fade away and they could be lost forever. Some of the other houses might guide more, of course, in an attempt to stop them from happening, but they will suffer from the strain of guiding your share of the dead. It is essential that every house guides, or the whole cycle goes off balance. The Yaga points at me with an end of her pipe and frowns. And then there's you, of course. Me? I croak. My mouth is dry. You're linked to your house in a very unique way. What will happen to you if your house withers away? My gaze darts to my fingers as they tremble as I picture them fading away. Nausea rises inside me as I imagine my whole body disappearing and my soul being lost forever. I dig my fingernails into my palms just to feel alive. So, we need you to get guiding. The old Yaga raises her eyebrows. You speak the language of the dead beautifully, when you want to. Do you know the death journey words? Yes. No. Well, sometimes. I only just learned them. I'm not ready. I shake my head. It's still heavy with the memories of the souls that I've already guided. Nothing like being thrown in the deep end to learn how to swim. The old Yaga laughs. I remember the house kicking me off the cliff into the lagoon. I feel like it's happening again, like I'm breaking the surface, gasping for air, desperately reaching for something solid. Are you all right? The old Yaga's face crinkles with concern. Do you want to stay here tonight? I have a spare room made up. We can talk more tomorrow about how you can guide alone. I have to get back to the house. And Jack and Benji. I sway as I rise to my feet. My world is falling apart, and the old Yaga wants to talk about guiding, but I can't. I can't be the next guardian. There must be a way to bring Bubba home so she can guide the dead and protect me and the house from crumbling and fading and the cycle from going off balance. Being guardian is her responsibility, not mine. Of course. The old Yaga walks me to the door. Come back tomorrow night. I'll help you prepare for your guiding then, if you like. Thank you, I hear myself murmur. I watch my arms brush aside the fabric drapes on my way off the street, and I stumble through the puddle into the light of the early morning. I feel like I'm in an itchy, uncomfortable nightmare where I can't get enough air, and I can't wake up no matter how hard I try. Laughter rises to my feet. I look up to see two girls about my age watching me from the next stall. One whispers something to the other, and they both giggle. Where'd you get that headscarf? You look like the ugly witch who lives in that rotten old house. It's not mine. I pulled the scarf from my head. I was about to say it was my grandmother's, but that wasn't true anymore. How could Bubba do this, leave me here, all alone, in danger of fading away, and expect me to become the next guardian? I don't want her headscarf. I don't want the headscarf of a Yaga. I don't want to look like a Yaga or be a Yaga. I drop the headscarf into the puddle, skulls and flowers swirling in the muddy water, and I walk away, desperately, trying to think of a way out of all of this.